my name is Erica, and today I'm going to be doing my end of summer wrap-up. I have not done like a wrap-up video in quite a long time. I've kind of been doing like what I've been reading recently, and I've definitely not been filming as much as I had been over lockdown, which I'm kind of disappointed in myself for, but I want to get back on track, especially because it's spooky season, so I have a lot of fun videos planned. Alright, I have been reading a decent amount since like August, and I finished 2 books this past week, which is honestly a miracle for me because I've basically been reading 1 book a week for the most part, and I'm really proud of myself for at least getting through a few books that I had on my TBR like for years. I'm gonna just be running through the books I've read recently and my thoughts and feels on those books. I'm not gonna go into a lot of details, kind of a while, but yeah, so let's just get right into it. Most recently I started reading the Bone Season series. I just finished the song Rising like a week ago, and I am loving this series. I have not read a dystopian series, and I guess the last dystopian series I read was The Toll by Neil Shusterman, which is the Sight series, which is pretty good. I really like that one, but I am loving this, and I obsessed over Samantha Shannon after reading The Pre Over the Orange Tree, and I knew that this series was out obviously for all these years, and the new one, The Mask Falling, is coming out in a few months, so I wanted to finally read this series. And I do have to say, this first book, The Bone Season, was a little overwhelming at times. It's a lot to take in. I felt really dumb while I was reading it at the beginning because there's a lot of terminology and different magic systems that are built into this, and it's all very detailed, and I love that about this series, but it was a lot to take in. We follow this girl named Paige Mahoney, and in this dystopian world, it's like 2049, 2050, around there. It's dystopian London. It's following these people who are called clairvoyants. Basically, being clairvoyant means you have this unique ability to kind of touch the aether with your mind, and it's very dark. We have the 7 orders of clairvoyance, which is based in this book on the merits of unnaturalness, which is there's like a guy in this book who wrote it, and he like has these 7 levels. Like, this is gonna be a lot, so I'm not gonna go into a lot of details, but there are different levels of unnaturalness in this, and people that are clairvoyant are seen as a danger to society, so they're often being hunted and they're always in danger. And Paige Mahoney gets caught and captured one day. She gets sent to this place where clairvoyants are being trained. They're basically being used as weapons by this higher order that have basically beaten death, and they can pretty much live forever, and they've been around for years, and Paige gets caught up in this world, and she ends up kind of falling for the guy who is supposed to be her warden, like her master, like basically training her and kind of not controlling her, but he has power over her. The 7 orders of clairvoyance, like there's a lot of details and there's a lot of different names for them. I'd often find myself having to read back at the beginning, but then there'd be names that aren't actually in there, so I'm like, wait, what part of the order are they in? Paige is considered a jumper, which is the highest in the 7 orders. She works for this system called the Syndicate, and they are basically like this underground clairvoyant society that are, secretly working and operating in London. She's considered a molisher. There's so many terms, I can't even go into detail, but honestly, so Paige is a dreamwalker, which is extremely rare for clairvoyants. Usually they're not that powerful. She's learning how to control her gift in this book and throughout the series, and honestly, it's so good. I am obsessed with it. Like I said, it is overwhelming at times. There's so many terms and definitions, and it's very unique to this world building, and it's so good. And I love the character development. I love even the romance. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the romance in this book because it's not like one of my faves, but I'm not happy about it, so it doesn't take away from the story. Between like the Bone Season, the Mime Order, which is book 2, and then the song Rising, you guys, I'm obsessed. It's so good, and there's so much excitement in it, and it's very intense. There's never a dull moment. Like, honestly, I love the relationships between the characters, I love the nicknames of the characters. Samantha Shannon just developed such an amazing system, and it's so incredibly detailed and unique. I'm obsessed with it, and like I said, it's so action-packed, and you really grow attached to a lot of these characters and their story, and I'm loving this series, and I cannot wait for the 4th book to finally come out in like 5 months, I think. But yeah, so definitely I've been reading this series. I finished the first 3 books so far, and I'm just loving it a lot. Another series that I've been meaning to get to for a long time is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I finished Skyward, and then I also finished book 2, which is called Starsight. I also am really loving this series. I'm not sure how many books there are going to be in this series, but I'm like loving it a lot. And I've never read Brandon Sanderson's books before. Like, I know he has so many fantasy books. Obviously I need to read the Mistborn series. There's so many books out there I need to read of his, but I'm really happy I started with this one. I I've been in kind of a weird mood that I really want to read sci-fi, and not a weird mood, but I just really want to read sci-fi, and I finally picked up Skyward, and I am really enjoying it. So this book follows this girl named Spensa. She lives on this planet called Detritus, and it's obviously in the future when space travel is a thing, and they basically had to escape underground because there's this species of aliens called the Krell, that's what they call them. They constantly are attacking Detritus, and no one really knows who they are, what they're doing, or why they're constantly attacking them. But over the years, Spensa has been wanting to be a pilot, just like her father. When Spensa was little, her and her dad were really close, but her dad ended up having to go to space and fight the Krell and ended up being considered a coward because he had to run from the fight and then was killed. Spensa, growing up, didn't really know what had happened. She was constantly bullied and tormented because her father was considered a coward. That word is repeated so many times in this book, and it's seen as such a really horrible thing because Spensa never wants to be considered a coward because she wants to prove that her father was actually not a coward, and she wants to become a pilot to prove that she can do it, and just because it's been her dream since she was a little kid. Spensa wants to get into flight school, and teachers are constantly telling her that she can't do it, and the system is rigged because they don't want her to become a pilot because they think that she's going to do the exact same thing and have this malfunction basically in her head that is going to make her a coward and run from the fight, and they don't want that. They don't want her to endanger other people around her. Spensa goes anyway to take her pilot test, and they give her something that is not the pilot test at all. Like, it's nothing she studied. It's all about like systems and, you know, building ships and whatnot. I don't know, it's just very confusing. And she obviously can't answer any of the questions. So after they leave, she goes and she takes a test on her own, and someone comes and finds her. Actually, it's a friend of her dad, and he lets her come into flight school. So she's training constantly and having like the best time, while also having to face being bullied basically because these people then find out that she's a coward. I'm really enjoying this series so far. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of things that are kind of going over my head in terms of like flying and the technology a little bit. There's a lot of really nice images in this book that allow you to kind of see the flying techniques that they use and how the ships look, which is really nice because it's cool to see the system. I really enjoy this book. There's so much action in it, but it does seem a little repetitive at times, especially once I read Starsight. There's just a lot happening while Spensa is learning how to fly, and we kind of get the same storyline sort of in Starsight that we kind of got in Skyward. Like, their story moves along. There just seems like it's kind of stagnant. Like, it just feels the same. I mean, you get a lot of really cool discoveries along the way and, you know, sad moments, but overall it does feel a little repetitive at times. I really do enjoy this series, and I really love the humor in it. There's an AI in this book named Mbot, and it is the funniest character in this book, and I also really love Spensa's character and her humor, and I like the friendships that are developed in this with her flight. So the flight team is called Skyward because no one really knew what to do with it, and I really like that the characters pick like nicknames for each other, and it's just really cool. There are a lot of really sad moments and heartbreaking moments, and also a lot of really funny moments to pull you out of there. I love the dialogue in this. It doesn't feel forced at all. Like, it's just a very easy dialogue, and it's like, it feels so natural. That's what I'm trying to say. The humor and the dialogue between the characters, it feels really natural. I really enjoyed Starsight. Like I said though, it does feel a little repetitive because in the next book, I mean, we have more training and piloting and whatnot, but there's a lot of fighting in there as well. There's a lot of new alien species you discover and get to know them and get their personalities, and it's pretty creative. It's not quite as creative as some other sci-fi species and like characters that I've read. Some of the descriptions I felt like were kind of boring, that they could have been a little more exciting. But overall, I'm really enjoying this series, and I'm excited to see what happens after Starsight. Another book that I read recently is The Rise of Kyoshi by F.C. Yi, and I've heard a lot of amazing things about that book on Twitter, so I was really excited to get into it. Overall, I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The Rise of Kyoshi follows Kyoshi, obviously, from Avatar: The Last Airbender. She was the Avatar before Roku. In the beginning, it starts out with them trying to find out who the Avatar is, and then over time they have someone who's an Avatar, but it turns out he's not actually the Avatar because they kind of made a mistake and they weren't really sure, and all these years have passed. Kyoshi's like a teenager now. Kyoshi was raised by those who are raising the Avatar, and finally over time they realize that this guy's not the Avatar. All this stuff happens, but they finally figure out that Kyoshi's the Avatar. So basically we're following Kyoshi as she goes on her adventure to start training and finding herself and finding those who can help her become the Avatar. That's like a really bad description. I enjoyed it for the most part. I definitely feel like the voice of the characters is accurate and the world. Part of feels like the world is too closely related to Aang's time. I mean, it'd been like hundreds of years since Kyoshi was there, and I feel like in Avatar's Last Airbender, things are pretty much the same in terms of like what they have. I don't know if that makes sense. Like the time just feels like nothing really passed, and I guess things kind of stay like that for a while. But I don't know, it's just, there's something a little off about it, but overall I really enjoyed it. I really loved the voice of the characters and the humor and the dialogue, and I really liked the relationship that we get between Rangi, I don't know. We got the cute Fire Nation guard in there who is so adorable. We have a cute sapphic romance blooming between her and Kyoshi, and it felt pretty natural, I guess, since they've been friends for so long. And I really like Kyoshi's passion and drive and determination. I love Avatar's Last Airbender, and I'm enjoying the series so far. I haven't gotten to read the second book yet, but hopefully soon I'll get to it. But overall I enjoyed it. Like I said, there's just some of the time stuff felt a little off to me, but overall it's really good and really cute, and I like getting more from the Avatar universe because I love, like, Avatar Last Airbender is my favorite show of all time. Okay, another sapphic book that I've actually read recently was The Falling in Love Montage by Sierra Smith, and I've only heard amazing things about this book. It's so cute. I absolutely loved it. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and it's really beautiful. So we have these two girls, Saoirse and Ruby. Saoirse recently has gone out of kind of a rough relationship that really broke her heart. Saoirse does not want a serious relationship because she doesn't want to get hurt anymore, and she doesn't think that she'll have a future. Her mom is suffering from dementia. Just absolutely heartbreaking. So my grandfather passed away. He had Alzheimer's. Well, it was dementia. I'm not really sure when it becomes Alzheimer's, or if it's all this kind of separate. I'm not really sure. But my biggest fear is that my mom is gonna get it because her dad had it. That is like one of my biggest fears. So reading the Falling in Love Montage was very, very difficult, and I feel like I mentioned it in another video, but so we follow Saoirse and Ruby, and Saoirse is determined not to fall in love anymore because she's over it, and she just doesn't know if she has a future with somebody because she doesn't want to lose her memories. You know, we have the character of Ruby, who is staying with her cousin right now just for a short amount of time, and Saoirse meets Ruby at a party. Immediately they have this cute connection. They decide that they want to kind of start dating. Saoirse has these rules where she doesn't want it to become serious, so she keeps a lot of secrets from Ruby because they want to just make it like a falling in love montage based from the movies, like little rom-coms. That's pretty much what they're basing their relationship off of. Ruby makes Saoirse watch all these movies so that they can do these activities together. Meanwhile, they really start to catch feelings for each other, but Ruby's been pretty quiet about her personal life, only because Saoirse hasn't been asking her. Saoirse doesn't want things to get too far, she doesn't want to get too close to this girl, so she is keeping secrets but also not allowing Ruby to share what's going on in her life. Overall, I loved reading the Falling in Love montage. It was very difficult to read the scenes with Saoirse and her mom. One of my biggest fears is losing my mom to dementia, or my dad as well. So it was really hard to read those scenes because you know exactly what it feels like when you have someone like that and you read those things, and that was definitely the hardest part of this story. I cried pretty often in that during those scenes. Even just like thinking about it was sad. But that was definitely the hardest part of the book, and Saoirse was very frustrating because you wanted her to finally open up, but you understand why she doesn't want to fall in love, because she doesn't want to feel those things, and it all just disappears because they don't know how long they'll have together. So that was a little frustrating, but overall I love this book. I thought it was beautifully written. I loved the concept of it. I loved that it was based off of rom-coms, because rom-coms are pretty fun to watch, and it made me want to go back and watch some of those movies. But overall, I love this book. It deals with some pretty heavy topics, but I think it faces them really beautifully and head on. And yeah, really, really good. Definitely recommend it. Like 10 out of 10. I loved it. Okay, the last book that I finished most recently, just finished yesterday actually, was The Mermaid the Witch in the Sea by Maggie Takuta Hall. I saw this book recommended on Twitter a little bit, and I was like, okay, it's sapphic, let me pick it up. It was pretty good. I was not as blown away as I had anticipated. The cover itself is absolutely stunning. This is just a library copy, so you know, it has the little plastic over it, but it's so pretty, it's so detailed. There's a lot of things in there that I didn't even notice until literally yesterday when I was reading it. We follow the character of Flora, who is gender fluid. Flora and their brother Alfie were orphaned at a young age, so they had to really work hard to get food and not starve to death. So they got work on this pirate ship, and basically it made Flora have to become kind of a murderer, but They also don't like to murder, so they try to get out of it a lot, but they've just had to put on this facade. In order to fit in on this pirate ship, Flora becomes Florian and becomes a man for these people so that they can just fit in a little better, and they all accepted Flora as Florians, which is really nice. And Alfie, on the other hand, just kind of wastes his money all the time, and they're trying to save up to get out of the pirate ship, but he blows it all on mermaid blood, which is very sad. Then we follow the character of Evelyn, who is a highborn imperial, and she is supposed to be wed to this man off in this area called the Floating Islands. So she gets onto this pirate ship, which is actually the dove that Flora and Alfie work on. So she's actually being tricked to be on a slaver ship because they sell these people out at the end. So Florian gets assigned to stay with Evelyn because Florian is supposed to protect Evelyn during all this from the other men on the ship, and Florian ends up falling for Evelyn, and Evelyn falls for Florian. Before Evelyn got into the ship, she had fallen in love with her handmaiden, and they were so cute and happy together, but her mom was obviously not approving of that. She didn't really know how far the relationship had went, but she knew that she needed to send Evelyn away to marry another man. Florian wants to escape with Evelyn, and someone helps them. They get caught as they're trying to escape, and they get washed up, and then they meet this witch who's trying to help them, but also has other motives. It's very dark, but there's a lot of magic. There's some mermaids in there. It's beautifully written. I really enjoyed it for the most part. I guess I did feel like it got kind of boring at times. I just felt like it got really slow in some moments, and I also just felt like it was, I don't know, rushed. It's a really short book. So I just felt like I didn't have enough time to get to know the world. Like, the world felt so small to me. Overall, I enjoyed it. I did like the characters. I really love Flora and I really love Evelyn, and I think they make such a cute couple. The ending was a little shocking. It was kind of sad, but also really beautiful at the same time. You'll have to check it out. I enjoyed this book. I think I gave it 3 to 5 stars. But yeah, definitely highly recommend. Alright everybody, that is everything I read from August through September, and I'm not sure if we'll get to anything else in this last week of September. I'm pretty happy with what I've been reading lately, and I'm happy that I've actually been making a lot of time to read, and I'm excited for spooky season and fall just to get into those other types of books. So that is everything I've been reading recently. That is all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, be sure to give it a nice little thumbs up. If you want to keep following me on this booktube journey, please subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ErikaAGobble. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you soon with another video. Bye!